Hello, podcast listener. This is your host with the most of your favorite podcast, JJ Meets World. In this episode, Tucker and I tackle a very difficult survey, and you're going to have to find out if you agree or disagree, or you're satisfied, neither satisfied, very satisfied, unsatisfied. Your marriage is not satisfying. Whichever it is, you're going to find out by the end of this episode of JJ Meets World. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. JJ Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. JJ has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirls as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
Wednesday, May 1st, the Minnesota Twins take on the Chicago White Sox. First pitch, 1:10. It's an away game. Then they get Thursday, May 2nd off before they take on a whole slew of home games. They're going to take on the Boston Red Sox the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th. And then the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, they're going to play a team whose logo is an S, but I don't know what team that would be, just an S. I know the Boston Red Sox logo.
And Twins, that's baseball, right?
That's baseball. That's Major League Baseball, MLB.
Red Hawks?
Tucker. Oh, no. This is like if like the Red Hawks had a cooler older brother.
Isn't that baseball, though? That's baseball.
I mean, is it really? I mean, is it really? They've got a bat and a ball, but is it baseball?
And you said they're fighting a group with an S?
They're fighting a group, and they're like, I can tell, like, Colorado Rockies is CR, and I know that. The Oakland A's, the Pittsburgh Pirates. There is one team that's just a picture of a baseball glove. I don't know who that is, but this team is just an S.
Okay.
So, any idea who the S team might be?
The S's, the Supermans.
They're going to take on the San Francisco Snakes. But here's what I think is interesting, Tucker. May 10th, 11th, and 12th, away games. They're going to be in Toronto playing the Toronto Blue Jays. And the 12th is Mother's Day. They have Monday the 13th off, obviously, because the Minnesota Twins are going to party so hard with mothers that night that they cannot be playing a game on Monday.
With their twin mothers.
Do you think to be in the Minnesota Twins, you have to be a twin, like a fraternal twin?
I thought that was a given. I thought that there was just something about Minnesota where we had there was like a high incidence of twins being born. They're like, well, listen, we have so many twins that we could easily make an athletic team out of it.
Because I've always assumed that the Timberwolves, their basketball team, is because all these people have been bitten by a Timberwolf at some point or another. Yeah,
that would make the most sense.
They've imbued the powers of the wolf.
You know, we need to pitch a sports podcast that's completely just two guys who know fucking nothing about what they're talking about. But it's highly topical. You get a new episode every day.
Easily one of the most embarrassing things I ever did is one year I decided I'm going to learn more about sports because I am in an industry that carries a bunch of sports and I should know more about them. And I was telling them, I was like, I watched a hockey game, and at one point, one of the players threw their stick into the audience. And they go, it's not an audience, it's a crowd. I see where you're going. And they're like, kudos to you, but it's not called an audience.
Yeah, I mean, it's excellent blocking by the coach, you know?
Right, yeah. Oh, and everyone had their lines memorized. They did such a good job. And did you see the lighting inside the Excel Center? I thought
it was a little harsh, you know, but it's kind of postmodernist, you know, brutalist maybe.
Tucker, do you remember a few episodes ago when I told you about a horrible Kentucky Fried Chicken experience I had?
Yeah.
And I vowed never to go back to that place.
Have you already broken your sacred vow?
I did last night. And I thought I would bring it full circle for the audience. So
KFC always wins in the end.
Well, actually, I got to tell you. So my local celebrity paid off with some pretty high dividends last night because I ordered in advance. Okay. And when you have to understand this, when you use
Aren't
the
all
Kentucky Fried
orders
Chicken,
in advance?
no, because it could be at the moment, like you order it in the moment and then you
But
wait for it.
It's in advance of getting it. It has to come first, right? Isn't that what in advance means?
Well, I mean, I ordered it in advance of me eating it. You could
Now,
say
'cause,
that,
like-
but like the act of ordering, you can like, if you did that in person at the time, it would just be ordering.
Yeah,
It
but
wouldn't
if
be
you
in
s-
advance of
if
ordering.
you said, "Well, I ordered a burger," I wouldn't go, "Oh yeah, did you do that after you ate it?" I would assume it happened first. I'd say
But,
it would.
okay, I guess what I'm trying to say is I used a mobile ordering system so that I wasn't present
Right.
in the store
Got
so
it.
that I could just walk in, pick it up, and leave.
Got it. Okay.
And you need to understand this about mobile ordering at the Kentucky Fried Chicken at Harlan Sanders' place, the Colonel.
Okay.
They have on the counter where you order, they've got a big shelving unit for to-go orders. And the idea behind it, I assume, is that rather than someone who's delivering for Grubhub or something like that, or a Dasher, as we learned a few episodes ago, you just walk in, you find the ticket that's yours that matches, you grab it and go without having to wait in line for people who are ordering in the moment because they want to have that relationship with someone at the desk. So I've placed my order in advance and I've already like built myself up to this is going to disappoint me in somehow. I already know that no matter what, I'm going to be disappointed because I drove in a parade yesterday. I went to a baby shower. I had a lot of stuff going on. I had a stressful week and I thought this will be how I reward myself. And some magic happened, Tucker.
Ooh.
I mean, some real brilliance. So I walk in and there are no bags ready to go, tied up with a ticket on them on the shelf. And I immediately pull my phone out to pull it up so that I'm like, oh God, did I order from the wrong one? Are they just not ready? And the woman behind the counter goes, are you JJ Gordon from the radio? And I said, and I hadn't said anything, so she didn't identify my voice. And it's been a while since we've had a billboard campaign. And she said, and I said, yes. And she's like, oh my gosh, I kept this back here because I thought this was you. I listened to your show all the time.
Oh,
so
wow.
she had kept my order away from the other plebes
No.
and regular people. She had put it in a VIP section so she could personally hand it over to me.
Damn, this is
And-
like you unlocked platinum rewards at that KFC, basically.
And I got a little flustered and flummoxed because I had already begun writing the speech in my mind. It was going to be, I placed this order 30 goddamn minutes ago. But that's not the case. I didn't know that I was going to be treated to celebrity chicken.
Yeah.
So
Celebrity
Chicken.
podcast title, writing it down. Celebrity chicken.
So I walk out and I've got two people in my car who know my history with KFC chicken. Shout out to Rachel and Jill. And I mean, I walk in and I'm not in there very long and I walk out and we know the other problems. Like that time I walked in and that guy started eating my meal and then they didn't want to replace it. And I'm like, no, I don't want the stuff that the guy started eating already. We know
Right.
about the times they've forgotten things like gravy. You got to have the gravy. And so I didn't even bother checking the bag because I knew that this woman had taken the time to be like, OMG, this is JJ Gordon's chicken. I've got to take extra special care to this. And I will tell you, the chicken tenders done perfectly. There's easily more mashed potatoes than there were supposed to be inside these containers. Everything about this was perfect. It was a perfect meal. So much so that in the middle of the night, I got up very quietly and snuck downstairs and ate chicken fingers out of the fridge with gravy just because it was so tasty and so perfect. So the 360 I would like to take the listeners of JJ Meets World on with is KFC sent me a how was your KFC experience? And I thought we could fill it out together as a group.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it
So,
as a group.
Here's what you have to understand. So I get Kentucky Fried Chicken sent me a thing, and here's what's great is how was your KFC experience? But the first button on the survey is start an order. So they know that, like, listen, we know that you're coming back for this chicken no matter what, even if you're going to give us zeros.
So got, I mean, corporate KFC probably knows where you are right now, JJ.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, they're putting tracking devices in the chicken that I'm consuming.
Nanobots.
I probably have like 100 of them in my stomach. So it says, "Hello, JJ. How was your KFC experience? Take 3 minutes to tell us about your KFC experience on March 16th, 2024. We appreciate your feedback. Your voice helps us improve the KFC experience. I have filled this out before, and I have been harsh. So I can't wait to do this. By the way, they do what's called a 5-bucket system. So one bucket, when you hover over it, it's an empty bucket. And then when you hover over it, they put chicken inside of it. And that's very dissatisfied. 2 is just dissatisfied. 3 is neither satisfied or dissatisfied. 4, satisfied. 5, very satisfied. And if you click 5, all the buckets of chicken are full. So we're going to do it. 5. I'm very satisfied.
Excellent.
So we're going to start this thing off right off the bat.
Isn't it like, is this like a Scantron sheet in any way?
I mean, no, it looks, I mean, it's the most basic, like you just fill in a dot, but I guess like, do they still do Scantron sheets for kids or is everything online now?
I don't know, but I'd be fascinated to find out how many they get where they just go 3s the whole way down.
Oh, yeah, right. And then what use is that to them? You're satisfied. Right. You're neither satisfied nor dissatisfied. So essentially, you're mashed potatoes. You're nutritious, but you're also like better than going hungry.
Well, does doing this give you any kind of a coupon of any kind?
Oh, brother, I am hoping. They don't promise it. Right. But I'm hoping at the end they do something. Okay.
I bet that's the assumption. A lot of people are like, they're going, I'm not going to spend 3 minutes, but I'll just press C like I did in high school on everything.
Boom, 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 boom.
And then get that sweet coupon.
Tucker, this has taken me to an outside website called customer.kfc-listens.com.
Yeah, they do listen. They're listening to you day and fucking night.
Yep. Okay. Please tell us more about why you're very satisfied with the experience. Great customer service. Ready when what should I say here? Like ready when promised.
So you can are you filling in, like you're typing something in?
Yeah, so this is where I get to, like, they want me to expand on it.
Then you need to not waste this opportunity to be creative, JJ.
Oh, okay.
How many characters does it allow?
60.
60.
Yeah, so not a lot.
I mean, something along the lines of like,
okay, hold on.
Like this chicken hit me deep in my spot.
As a 40-year-old,
yes,
I like done. That's all they're getting. And this should be
their toes, right? They throw off their algorithm a little bit. Yeah, right. Got your money.
Okay, so now they've sent me back to some things where I have to choose, like based on my chicken bucket. How easy or difficult was it to order your food? Very difficult, neither easy nor difficult, easy, very easy. I'm not going to go very easy. I'm just going to click easy on this one. And let me tell you why. Mm-hmm. Their website is like their app. I have the KFC app. I re-downloaded it for this. And it's fine. But the deals are not great. And you can't go into the chicken tenders section and then find a button that says like make it a family meal. You have to go to the family meal. So I think they could do a little bit to help upsell by making it easier for me to do those upsell pieces from where I need to find it. Okay, right. So next page. How satisfied are you with the taste of your food? Very satisfied, dissatisfied, neither satisfied nor dissatisfied, satisfied, very satisfied. Okay, Tucker, I mean, I ate this twice. The coleslaw was delicious. The mashed potatoes were hot. That could have been a little buttery, a little more buttery,
Okay.
but you know what? I doused it in so much gravy, which is tangy and delicious.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to have to go with very satisfied on this.
I think you have to, because the only criticism you had was one that was fixable
Right.
easily, and so I think if the lack of butteriness were to just negatively impact the meal, I'd drop it down to a 4. But I think if you were able to recover and still have a splendid meal, I mean, that's especially because the bar has been set pretty low in fast food service these days.
Mm-hmm.
So
True.
when you get a meal that hits just like this, I think you gotta make it stand out. You gotta give it that 5.
You know what I really like about this too is it's not asking me, it's not saying generic like how was your order, right? It says,
Right.
Are you satisfied with the taste of your food? Yeah. And it didn't taste well, let me put it this way. It was the perfect amount of grease. It didn't feel like it was swimming in oil, but like there's a little bit of greasiness to it. The chicken fell apart pretty easily in my mouth. I think that this was I'm very satisfied. So yes, you and I are in agreement that very satisfied would be an appropriate section to choose.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, back to being able to write in. We love that you love our food. Please tell us what made your KFC food taste great. Tucker, I'm going to let you be the one to choose this one. And it doesn't look like I've got a 60 character limit.
So just read it to me one more time.
We love that you love our food. Please tell us what made your KFC food taste great.
I love that you love that I love your food. Do you love that I love that you love that I love your food?
Okay. And then do you want me to end it with a question mark? Grammatically correct?
Maybe just, question mark.
Okay, question mark. Done. Submitted. How satisfied are you with the speed of service? Now, this is where we need to take a time out.
Yeah.
Because you have to understand that my wife does not enjoy KFC. It's not her bag. So when I said I'm going to have KFC for dinner, knowing that she wasn't going to eat it, she said, well, I would like to get Arby's instead. And there is an Arby's about 1.5 miles away from a KFC. And so I used the Highway 10 corridor to go to Arby's in Dilworth before I went to KFC in Moorhead. While ordering Arby's, I got so frustrated with my wife because usually what she does is she whispers stuff to me that she wants to order as I'm talking through the window, because I do 99% of the driving, and then she changes stuff halfway through, or she wants me to ask them for something that I don't feel is within their power to grant. And so I said,
I'd hang up on her.
No, and like even worse, this is her sitting right next to me, like whispering stuff in my ear. So I said, listen, you're gonna lean over, because she and Rachel came with me. You're gonna lean over and you're gonna order this yourself. And she goes, okay. Well, that apparently made her nervous. That she said like she could order anytime on her own at an Arby's, no sweat. But being in the passenger seat and having to raise her voice slightly made it impossible for her to know this. So she ordered a number 1, which is the big beef and cheddar. And then she ordered some mozzarella sticks. And then she ordered a side of cheese. And then the back seat piped in and said, and get some extra curly fries. And so like, I'll get some extra curly fries. And I was trying to tell Jill, like, you don't like, there's like a red sauce that they put on the big beef and cheddar, and I know she doesn't like it because I've ordered it for her. And she's like, well, no, I normally get the number 2. And I'm like, but you told them number 1. So if the speaker at Arby's is good enough, they heard us have a little marital spat in the front seat of my car. And then she said, and no ranch. Silence. And the woman on the speaker goes, okay. Like it's a question. Like she was answering in the affirmative, but turned it into a question.
Was that because it doesn't come with ranch, so you don't have to specify?
Okay, Tucker, this is where I have to give my wife some credit because she's always called it Red Ranch. And I'm like, that is not the sauce that comes on there. It's horsey sauce. Arby's is famous for a sauce that either is for horses or made of horses. We don't know, but it's delicious. It's horsey sauce. And I said, there's Arby's sauce, but that's certainly not red. It's definitely brown in nature. And so
God.
she's like, no, it's called Red Ranch. And I'm like, there's no effing way it's called Red Ranch. And I'm like, does it taste like ranch? And she goes, no, but Arby's. the
Oh my God! Wow.
Okay, get myself together. The theme of Arby's is ranch.
Oh,
like their logo's a cowboy hat. They brand stuff. And so she's trying to explain to me that the corporate theming around this place, that's why they've got horsey sauce, and it's a red sauce, but it's also a ranch where they keep the ponies. So that, and I was like, there's no way. They're like, hey, listen, there's a world famous condiment that like Midwesterners drink practically, but you know what, we're gonna use that word to mean something completely different. And I was like, there's no way. And she said, fine. And I told her I would ask at the window, what's the Red Ranch? What's the red sauce? And see if they say Red Ranch. Well, we had so much time in the drive-thru, I actually opened up the Arby's website. So now they're tracking me too. So if the FBI ends up arresting me for any reason, my search history is throwing them for a doozy.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to think I'm laundering money through fast food restaurants. I got to the Arby's menu. Their online menu, pretty legit, not going to lie. KFC could take some notes from it. And I get to the big beef and cheddar, and on the big beef and cheddar is a cheddar cheese sauce, shaved roast beef, onion bun, and Red Ranch.
Okay. Well, hey.
And I was like, son of a bee. And I made Jill look it up herself so that she had some ownership here. And she was right. My wife was 100% right. Mm-hmm. And now I know something about her that I don't think a lot of couples know, which is if I ever need any information about the Arby's Corporation, Jill's my go-to. If I get to the $1 million question on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and the question is, what is the appropriate theme, or which of the following restaurants would most likely have a lariat rope hanging up in their restaurant to show their background of being ranch based? And it was Wendy's, Arby's, McDonald's, and Big Bob's Rootin' Tootin' Weekend Burger Joint. I would call Jill and she'd go, Arby's. I wouldn't even have to read the 4 options. She'd go Arby's, and I would win $1 million.
Yeah. Hopefully that scenario plays itself out at some point for you, because $1 million would be pretty great. Could you please retell the story of Tim Larson and the Arby's?
Oh, I would love to.
Challenge?
I need to put a button on this too, just so you know, because they hand us. So Jill has been telling me how flustered she was by having to speak into the speaker from the passenger seat and how uncomfortable she was doing that and having to raise her voice slightly. We get there, and Jill and I always check the bag now because you never know what they've messed up. So they hand us.
And you do that in the drive-thru before you leave, right?
Yes, I do. And thank God we did, because they handed it to, first of all, I handed Jill's credit card over, and they were like 27 something. And I'm like, $27? Oh my God, that seems expensive. So they run her credit card. They said, do you want a receipt? And I said, no, because we're not really receipt people, but it was an instant mistake. So they hand the bag over, and they've done the clever fast food where they close the top of the bag and then they fold it over. Like, that's going to keep me from looking in. Hand it over. And Jill holds the bag. And just like in Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, when he's getting the idol at the very beginning and he's pouring the sand out of the bag, she knows from the weight of the bag that this isn't right.
Mhm.
And so she peeks in, she goes through somehow she's able to break through the impenetrable folding of the bag. And she goes, this isn't what we ordered. And she looks and she goes, this is almost all pastries. And so the woman at the drive-through instantly throws her other coworkers on the bus, and she's like, what? Oh my God, this is ridiculous. Oh, and she's like, who did this? Who did this? And so they take back the bag of pastries. And
I didn't
like,
think you could get pastries at Arby's.
yeah, well, and so Jill knew all about it. She's like, I think they've got apple fritters or something. And I said, why are you treating this like a question? You absolutely know that they've got apple fritters. And it was like a bag full of them. So I assume somebody's grandma loves these apple fritters, and hopefully they're behind us in the line so they can get the correct order, because if they were in front of us, grandma's going to have the worst last birthday of her life.
Mm-hmm.
Because all it's going to be is a big beef and cheddar that doesn't even have the red ranch sauce on it that grandma likes. And these are the issues we have to deal with on a regular basis. So I immediately, because this is becoming so frustrating in so many ways, I'm very worried about what it's going to be like when I pick up my KFC on the way home.
Yeah.
I'm terrified. So that being said, don't worry. We're going to get back to this customer service survey. So when they released the movie Fargo on DVD, MGM Studios made a huge deal with the Fargo theater, and they said, listen, we want to do a huge thing in Fargo for the DVD release of Fargo. They hired the West Fargo High Marching Band, who played songs. They sent hundreds, if not maybe even over 1,000 copies of it on DVD. And they put a big stage outside of the Fargo Theater, and there was all these media people there. And one aspect of it was they were going to have an Arby's sandwich eating contest, because in the movie Fargo, they talk about going to Arby's and, getting an Arby's sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
So I go with a couple friends, and I bump into Tim Larson, who I haven't seen in a long. Actually, the last time I saw Tim Larson before this, Dustin Buchanan had purchased a CD called "What Comes Next," and it was a compilation of classical music, but also women in a state of arousal. So a lot of breathing and heavy moaning. And we thought it would be really funny to drive around town blaring that in Dustin's car. And Tim was in the back seat, and he's wearing a hoodie. And Tim was so embarrassed by what we were doing that he closed his hoodie to only it was about 2 inches, so you could just barely see, and no one could identify him. Bought this. Of all the places in Fargo that would sell a novelty like this, can you guess where we purchased it? For $20, by the way, in Spencer's Gifts. Bingo. The place that it's got a lava lamp. It does. Oh, Spencer's Gift. And we're in a great moment for that, because when kind of the emo crowd grew up, they were like, oh, listen, you know what I need is a blacklight poster of Nightmare Before Christmas. Boom, you can get it there. And I think it's still one of the places in the mall that probably is a teen destination for sure. Mm-hmm. So we bump into Tim Larson, and Tim's like, I'm gonna sign up for this sandwich eating contest, and I'm in it to win it. This is gonna be great. And I was like, yeah, Tim, you go do it. And so it turns out you had to have signed up in advance, and there's 5 people up on this stage, and each of them, they pull out a tray full of Arby's sandwiches. Big beef, probably just the regular roast beef sandwiches, but each plate probably has a dozen of these sandwiches on it, which the equivalent is probably, it's 6 pounds of meat, maybe more. Oof. A lot, plus those onion buns on top of it. Mm-hmm. And so to make it even more appetizing to the MGM marketing people, but certainly not. And, maybe this was something that the Fargo Theater was like, we'll do an Arby's sandwich eating contest. Maybe this was their contribution to it. But they pulled out a restaurant-sized jug. And if you've ever been in the back area of a restaurant, like something like horsey sauce doesn't come in a fun container. It
Red
comes
Ranch.
in a Red Ranch. There you go. It comes in a nondescript, semi-opaque plastic jug that just says the name of the company and what's in it on the side, and that's it. And so they take this jug of, I assume this was Arby's sauce because it was brown in nature, and they essentially just pour it over the top of all of these sandwiches. Now, it is, I believe, early April when this happens, and
like
so
right on top of everything, like on
Right
top of the buns.
On top of the buns, right? It's not underneath. It is just.
Why?
Clearly, they didn't
on.
think it out, right? Like, clearly, like, Tucker, I feel your frustration. It's been 20 years since this happened, and I feel the same frustration of, like, why would you do that? It would be so much better to say, listen, pop those buns off, and let's, throw some Arby's sauce on this. And it is so cold outside.
Mm-hmm.
It is, like, it's jacket, not coat, but jacket weather. And by the time these guys start, it's been sitting out for forever. And so these things are stone cold now. And also, like, the buns have lost their integrity because there's been so much of this sauce poured on top of them. And so they do the on your marks, get set, go. And the guy who wins ate one. And it was so ridiculous. And Tim Larson looked at what I think sometimes we think of potential futures and they think like, sliding doors. If only I had known I needed to sign up for this, I could have been the champion, and I could have, like, it would have been a spanking. I could have eaten 7 of those sandwiches. And so unfortunately that has, it's not as much pomp and circumstance, but everyone there got a free copy of Fargo on DVD. Like, everybody who showed up on the street, they closed down the street so that they could have the celebration. They presented the Fargo Theater with a wood carving of pregnant Marge from the movie. And I also got up and I answered trivia that someone had prepped and won a second copy of the DVD. And the question that was asked to me is, Joel and Ethan Coen grew up in what Minnesota city? And I said, Minneapolis. And they said, correct. And then they handed me a DVD. And it felt good.
Felt like a big man.
Felt like a big man. I felt like I had done the city proud. And then it was only a year later that I ran for mayor. So some might say that was the moment that inspired me. And I would say you're correct. You're incredibly correct.
So what's the next question on the survey?
How satisfied are you with the speed of service? Now, we know the 5 options.
That's where we were. Okay.
That's where we were. Yep. And I'm going to say very satisfied because even though it wasn't waiting in the shelving unit, it's not like I had to wait. She instantly was ready for it and brought it around the corner for me. So I'm very satisfied. Yeah. How satisfied are you with the accuracy of your order? I'm very satisfied. They got everything right. I counted the number of biscuits. I was supposed to get 8, and there were 8 biscuits there.
How much recency bias do you think is at play here? Because you had just driven from Arby's where they had just tried to pass off a whole bunch of pastries as your actual order. So they got it 100% wrong. So, I mean, were you just inclined to go, well, this is the absolute best thing ever?
No, I'm not, because I do believe that I was setting myself up to be a full-on Karen in that situation.
I mean, I'm glad that there's not an Arby's bias playing into this right now.
Right, 100%. And I don't believe they're even owned by the same corporation. Yum Foods has Taco Bell, KFC, and Pizza Hut, maybe some other brands, but I don't believe they're connected at all. And I will also say this. There were a lot of people in the Arby's drive-thru. I was the only person at the KFC. And so maybe KFC was having, like people were like, I don't feel like chicken tonight. It's the night before. It's St. Patrick's Day Eve. I want big beef and cheddars. This says, how satisfied are you with the cleanliness of this restaurant? Now, Tucker, I hate to say this, but I think I have to go neither satisfied nor dissatisfied.
I mean, because I think that's fair.
Right. While I didn't walk in and step in, human excrement upon entering the store, I also wasn't looking around to see like, oh, everything is shiny and bright. So I'm going to say neither satisfied nor dissatisfied for this one.
I bet that's where they get their most demerits, is people saying it's dirty, because I think it's just easy to let a restaurant go and be dirty, and I never notice when a restaurant is nice and clean, but I notice it when it's dirty.
There's a famous 60 Minutes or 2020 from the late 90s where it was an expose into KFC. And I'm going to tell you, I remember watching it, and people still talk about it to this day. And included with it is it was so greasy in the back of KFC that the teenagers were essentially skating and running around in the back. Also, they talked about how when you've got chicken that essentially has gone bad and starts to smell or looks a little off, they had a bleach dipping system.
What?
So you dip it in bleach to kill any bacteria that's on it, and then you wash the chicken off, and then they go, don't worry, with as high of a temperature as we cook it at, it cooks off any of the chemical. And so they had someone had a camera, a hidden camera that they snuck in, catching a manager doing this.
Ugh.
And again, I chose to eat there last night, even though I have watched this expose. Now, Tucker, this next question. Oh, buddy, this is where I'm really going to let it shine, because this is the local celebrity tax that we talked about recently, that when someone does go above and beyond for you because you are part of their everyday and it's a big deal that they get to meet you, you need to reciprocate that in some way, shape, or form. Will I plan on calling out the Moorhead Kentucky Fried Chicken on Monday during my #1 rated midday radio show? Absolutely. But I get a chance here. How satisfied are you with the KFC team member service? This is a very satisfied, buddy. I hope they let me write. Oh, good. So now they're going to let me write. Our people make a difference! ! If you'd like to recognize a team member for great service, please share your recognition here. Include a name if you know it, and we'll share your feedback with our team member. Now, this is where Tom Hanks must deal with this all the time. I did not ask for this woman's name, nor did I bother to read the name tag, because I was having a chicken fever. I had grabbed my bag and ready to go. So I'm going to put this. The clerk behind the counter was excellent. 5 stars. Great customer service. And then I'm going to put, to help identify, she looked like a lady.
Remember when the biggest joke on Mad TV was he looked like a man?
Yeah. I'm going to change this. To help identify, she had arm tattoos, which is the one thing I remember specifically about her. She did have copious tattoos on her arms. So there we go. Okay. Thank you. We're happy that you're happy. Download the KFC app to unlock more KFC goodness, access deals, easier ordering, and faster checkout. I have now completed the KFC survey that they sent for me. And I would say that probably if you had to average everything out, this was a 4 buckets of chicken experience.
That's
not
solid.
Not quite 5 buckets of chicken, because I did not dine in the restaurant, but that's no slight to the restaurant itself. Oh boy, Tucker.
It seems like the difference between an A and an A plus, doesn't it?
It does. And listen, I don't need the A plus. I will just take the A. And I think sometimes people put too much pressure to say, I want to be the best of the best. Well, listen, that is a dumb saying, because if you're the best, you're already the best. You can't be any bester. All right. Yeah. It's not like Captain America is the best Captain America there is. We all know it's just Steve Rogers, and that's the best Captain America. And then mic drop. I don't care what they try and do with future iterations.
I have a question, JJ. How many restaurant-specific apps do you have on your phone? And I'm not counting. We're not counting Uber Eats.
Okay, yeah. So, actually, Jill and I no longer order from DoorDash, Uber Eats, any of those because they make me so angry. Okay, yeah. So now, do you want only restaurants? Because I have some food-adjacent things in here.
Specifically restaurants that, have like a rewards program, or like a McDonald's app kind of a thing.
I've got Casey's, Papa Murphy's, Domino's, Papa John's, Deke's Pizza, McDonald's, the Olive Garden, Applebee's, Texas Roadhouse, Red Lobster, the Outback Steakhouse, because I'm always hoping it comes back, Jersey Mike's, Herbert and Gerbert's, Insomnia Cookies, Sandy's Donuts, the Weber Grill Restaurant, Buffalo Wild Wings, Subway, Granite City, KFC, Smiling Moose, Starbucks, Taco Bell, Caribou Coffee, Boston's Pizza, and I'm going to count this one. It's a thing called Fair Eats, which tells me the best places to eat at county fairs.
I had no idea it was going to be that big. I thought you might have 3 or 4.
But okay, so when you order, you do both.
What does your email inbox look like? Is it just like 99% fast food restaurants getting you? Well,
let's see. Let's go on the promotions page here. It goes, oh God, this is embarrassing. It's Cashwise, Costco, Pizza Ranch, KFC, Perkins. Let's see, Meter, which is how I make sure I don't overdo my steaks here. Old Navy, thank God. LL Bean. Oh, and then it's so many food things after that, and some of them are like tripled, so I must use multiple email addresses.
Are you getting rewards from this?
Some of them, yeah. So for example, here's how I game the system, right? So I'll give you my Marcus Theater example. So I'm a Marcus Magical Movie Rewards Program member. I am also a Fandango Rewards member. Mm-hmm. When I order a ticket on Fandango, I also get credit on my Marcus Rewards. Okay. So I order on Fandango, so I get the Fandango rewards while also getting the Marcus rewards while also using my rewards-based credit card. So I've got triple rewards coming home to me for every time I buy a ticket to see an awesome movie.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So those are little things, but
that's smart.
Some of these are just because if you downloaded the app and showed it to them, you could get something for free. So I've never used the Subway app, but I downloaded it once because they said, we'll upgrade you from a 6-inch to a 12-inch if you download the app. And I said, You got it. I will gladly do that before I eat my Tony Soprano sub, which is, by the way, is the Italian. Was it the original Italian?
Like the BMT?
The Italian BMT with American cheese. And why do I call it the Tony Soprano? Because it's got all those Italian meats, but it's American, and it makes me breathe real heavy. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. I have some bad news. When I was driving to work on Friday, I choked in my car a little bit, and that's really what got me thinking about eating KFC, was choking.